accusations given against him. They prove that it's clear that he does make the choice, and it is an affront to fallen human independence. That text doesn't make any sense either. If people choose, if Pharaoh chose and Jacob chose and Esau chose and everybody chooses, then where do the accusations come from? If Paul is saying that God chose, then those accusations will rise, and they do. Salvation is his choice in all its fullness. And it's not apart from our faith. It's not apart from our response. But he chooses to make us willing and then makes us his own. This is the most pride-crushing, God-exalting, joy-producing, honor-granting, holiness-motivating, hope-giving doctrine in the Bible. He's the Lord, and we do his will. That's the concept of what it is to be a Christian calling Christ Lord. And that's why it's important for you to understand this truth. It is all over the New Testament, but it's been hidden because it hasn't been translated accurately. Get a copy of the book, Slave. It will permanently change how you understand your Christian life.
Not. But that thought, this isn't going to end well. That thought, I'm not what they think I am. Here's one of my strongholds. If they really knew you, they wouldn't like you. If they really knew, because all of us are bluffing. All of us are faking it. All your little cool friends are faking it. They all got acne. They all got issues. They all feel lonely, and none of y'all are cool. Everybody's faking it. Care how expensive your shoes are. You ain't perfect. But Paul, they were coming into church like, oh, he's an imposter. He's not a real one. They were introducing a thought to rob them. You know the devil is a thief, right? He can't take your promise. So now he wants to steal your thoughts. But I was reading something in Proverbs. Can I show you this real quick? I didn't get to show them last night. In Proverbs chapter 6, verse 30, it says, people do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his hunger when he's starving. A thief is just a thief. You know the enemy is a thief. You can't blame him for trying to steal what he doesn't want you to have. But check the next verse. I love this, verse 31. Yet if he is caught, he must pay sevenfold. So today we came into this service to catch a thief and to let him know, give me my joy back. Give me my peace back. Give me my wisdom back. Give me the joy of my salvation. Restore it sevenfold. I caught a thought. I caught a thought. I realized that he loves me. And if he loves me, it doesn't matter if you like me. I caught a thought. I'm bold about it. I'm born for it. I'm made for it. I'm called to it. And I believe I'll walk right forward into my future, holding on to a thought of the favor of God. Some of y'all need to catch this. Come on, catch this favor. Catch this word. Catch this joy. Catch this peace. You've been hanging around Facebook, but you came in here for some faith today, didn't you? Well, catch this. God is for you. He's more than the world against you. Kick those 10 spies out of your head and listen to Caleb. We can. We should. We will. He is. I have. I am. High five them and say, I caught a thought. I caught a thought. I caught a thought. Just like I caught a cold last February. I caught a thought. I found out that he is able. I found out that he who began a good work in me will be faithful to complete it. I found out he is the bread of life. He is El Shaddai. He is more than enough. I caught a thought of God. A thought brought me into depression, and a thought is going to bring me out. When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. What's he saying? I caught a thought of the goodness of God, and it lifted me out of the pit of my despair. You can't keep the thought from coming. But watch what Paul said. He said, we demolish strongholds. How do we destroy it? Verse 5 is important. He said, we demolish every spy that says we can't. And every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. How many know something about God that is deeper than a feeling? I mean, you've known it since you were a child. You've known it in your soul. You've known it in your spirit. Deep calls to deep. So when I have a thought that opposes what I know about God, what you gonna do about it? I can't keep it from coming. But he said, we take captive every thought to make it obey Christ. And so when they say, you seem different this week, you don't look so stressed this week, tell them, oh yeah, it's the craziest thing. I caught a thought. It was about this big. I found out God is about this. I caught a thought of his greatness. I magnified him in my mind. I began to rejoice in the rock of my salvation. This I recall to my mind. Therefore I have hope. I caught a thought, and it led me to a hope. Now, the thought that you hold on to, the one that you allow to dominate, that will be the stronghold of your life. If the Lord is your stronghold, if he is the place where you hide, if you catch a thought, a glimpse of your calling. Okay, here it is. There was a woman who was bleeding on the inside. She heard Jesus coming through her part of town. She had done everything to fix it at the level of the symptom, but nothing worked. The condition that she had was a deep one. It was causing her to hemorrhage and lose blood, just like many of us are hemorrhaging emotionally and losing energy and losing hope. When she heard Jesus passing through, her desperation for a change caused her to do something dramatic in her life, because she had gotten a second opinion and a third opinion and a fourth opinion, and none of that worked. But here comes healing, and here comes hope. And the Bible says that she did what she had to do to get through all of the people who could have blocked her, and to grab a hold to catch Jesus as he was passing by to heal somebody else. And he's moving quickly. And Peter's backing everybody away. Don't touch him. He's in a hurry. But she reaches out. And the Bible says that is this verse 37? Yeah, she touched his cloak. She caught him.
Conservative, but if you work for Fox, you gotta say the right thing. And I know some folks that work for CNN that aren't liberal. Some of the people you mad at over what they said, they're saying what they're supposed to say. Because you call it news, they call it business. And they're trying to control a particular turf. And so whatever I have to say to capture the fascination of the turf, I worked in the business. I understand the business. It's about numbers and demos and appealing to a demo. So they bait you and they put up whatever sign they need to put up to get your eyeballs, to get the ratings, so they can charge more money for advertising, so that they can make more money. They don't want the truth, Jesus. If that were not true, how could somebody work for Fox News and then take a job at MSNBC? Wake up, people. Wake up. This is a Jehoram spirit. This is what's killing our country, because we drink the Kool-Aid that they make, and we believe that they really believe what they said, and we end up fighting each other over what they said, and all the while the big business people are making money off the fight because good news don't make good ratings. So if I need to say Yahweh, I'll say Yahweh. If I need to say calf, I'll say calf, because I'm trying to control the market. Oh, y'all can't handle the truth. Y'all can't handle the truth. And I know you disagree with me, but I got a difference from you. I've been there. I've been in the meetings, I've been in the staff rooms, I've been behind the scenes, and I've done some part-time work for them. I know what I'm talking about. It's a business controlled by ratings, and they're getting rich making us mad at each other. I said they're getting rich making us mad at each other. And you sitting up here with your broke self ready to fight somebody you don't even know, and they're walking away. Tell somebody, tell them it's a Jehoram spirit. And so there you are arguing with people that you ought to be at peace with, not speaking to people, about to fight in a restaurant, ready to cuss somebody out with your saved self, all because we're being manipulated by somebody who's giving us whatever image we need to have to get our attention. It's a Jehoram spirit. I've been in the meetings with the elected officials who decided to march out a particular subject in order to rear up the base. That's not new. That's been like that for years. Certain things rear up the base, and they know how to manipulate you and get you scared that if you don't go out and vote, this is going to happen to you, or that's going to happen to you, or this group, the white folks are going to take over, or the gay folks are going to take over. They know exactly what to show you to ignite the base, because all they want is to vote. Oh, I know it's not all like that, but it's mostly like that. It's so much of that Democrats switch and become Republicans, and Republicans switch and become Democrats, and then some of them go independent, or whichever way I can. Power is seductive. And Jehoram has succumbed to the seduction that any way I got to get there, I'll get there. So I'll talk a little Yahweh, talk a little idolatry. Don't judge him. His mama was Jezebel. Apple don't fall too far from the tree. And so Jehoram and Jehoshaphat come together with the king of England, and they all go down to see the prophet. And Elijah is 7 shades of rude. He says to them when they come to see him, I wouldn't even look at you. Did you notice that in the text? He said, I wouldn't look at you. I wouldn't come out. I wouldn't even see you if it weren't for Jehoshaphat. Because Jehoshaphat was sincere. Sincerity trumps manipulation every time. I said sincerity trumps manipulation every time. That's why when we get somebody in office that's sincere, you will outrun every manipulator in the long run. You'll come out every time because people have the ability to tell when you are authentic. Everybody who's got an instinct to understand when somebody's authentic, clap your hands. Manipulation will only carry you so far. And Elijah said that if you think you're going to manipulate God, you're crazy. Jehoram, you at my front porch. Get off my porch. I wouldn't even look at you. I wouldn't even look at the king. You know you don't have a relationship with God. You only use God when you're in trouble. You're only using God because you're in a crisis right now. Your mama's sick. Your daughter's in the hospital. Your child is in a crisis. You're strung out on something. And so you come down here to get a little bit of Jesus. You really don't want to change your life. You just need enough Jesus to help you get there. You don't want him to invade your space and get in your business. You just want to come and get inspiration. You want to get motivation, but you don't want to change anything. Nothing is as hypocritical as church folk. You make me get out of bed this morning, I'm gonna let you have it. A form of godliness denying the power thereof. You was oohing at Fox and CNN and MSNBC, but let me tell you about church folk. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. Everybody talking about Jesus ain't going there. Everybody preaching don't love the Lord. Everybody out here on the field isn't preaching because they want to win souls. Hit your neighbor and say, wake up.
Have you ever watched The Exorcist and wondered, are demons real? Well, we interviewed a leading exorcist to find out, and the truth was shocking.
Tell me who you are.
The one you won't get out. The one you can't.
Levitations, vomiting, spitting at the priest with an uncanny marksmanship. That has not been a movie for me.
Listen to The Exorcist Files on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Fans of the hit TV show Scandal can now revisit every episode on Unpacking the Toolbox, a Scandal Rewatch podcast, hosted by the cast members behind Quinn Perkins and Huck. So, gladiators, grab some Gettysburger and relive Scandal's most iconic OMG moments.
We would be in like 110 degrees in a wool coat.
Yep.
I mean, the chafing that was going on in my pencil skirts, I deserve all the acting awards, people.
Listen to Unpacking the Toolbox, a Scandal Rewatch podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Alphabet Boys is a new podcast series that goes inside undercover investigations. In the first season, we're diving into an FBI investigation of the 2020 protests. It involves a cigar-smoking mystery man who drives a silver hearse.
And inside this hearse was like a lot of guns.
But are federal agents catching bad guys or creating them?
He was just waiting for me to set the date, the time, and then for sure he was trying to get it to happen.
Listen to Alphabet Boys on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So picture this, Tom Brady, an underwear model? Well, it doesn't seem so.
I'm picturing that. I'm picturing it. Go ahead.
I know. What do you mean you're not picturing it? Okay. But the recently retired quarterback / legend did strip down to his undies on social media recently. Word is he was settling a bet he made back in June of last year. Did I do it right? Asked Brady on Twitter. Tom is promoting his Brady brand clothing line. Brady originally posed a challenge to fans. If a Brady brand post featuring male models in underwear got 40,000 likes, then he would recreate the photo. It did, and months later, Brady kept his word. Meanwhile, the 7-time Super Bowl champ has confirmed he'll next turn to broadcasting for Fox Sports. Okay, so he has retired officially. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you guys?
You gonna put your damn
I'm thinking
clothes
about
on
doing
though, Brady. That's what you're gonna do.
I'm thinking about doing that
no.
my damn self. Yeah.
I was wondering. I was wondering if that crossed your mind.
Well, I don't got to pose in there. I'm just gonna go and be a draws model.
That's what I'm talking. Reinvent yourself.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm done everything else. Might as well go and try and be a draws model. You know, just selling draws, man. Well, I'm gonna be sitting back with the drawers on, but I'm gonna be on the couch. But I'm gonna sit back with my foot up, but I'm gonna be drinking a milkshake, eating a sandwich.
Doing a lot.
Real men. All right, guys. Coming up in 33 minutes after the hour, we'll play another round of Would You Rather right after this.
You're listening to the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
In 2018, it was reported there was a dramatic rise in the number of cases of demonic possession. For many of the most disturbing cases, Father Carlos Martins was often summoned.
I have seen things, very evil things.
I order you to go in the name of Christ.
I'm not leaving. We've been together too long. He needs me.
Listen to The Exorcist Files on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Alphabet Boys is a new podcast series that goes inside undercover investigations. In the first season, we're diving into an FBI investigation of the 2020 protests. It involves a cigar-smoking mystery man who drives a silver hearse.
And inside this hearse was like a lot of guns.
But are federal agents catching bad guys or creating them?
He was just waiting for me to set the date, the time, and then for sure he was trying to get it to happen.
Listen to Alphabet Boys on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Fans of the hit TV show Scandal can now revisit every episode on Unpacking the Toolbox, a Scandal Rewatch podcast, hosted by the cast members behind Quinn Perkins and Huck. So, gladiators, grab some Gettysburger and relive Scandal's most iconic OMG moments.
We would be in like 110 degrees in a wool coat.
Yep.
I mean, the chafing that was going on in my pencil skirts, I deserve all the acting awards, people.
Listen to Unpacking the Toolbox, a Scandal Rewatch podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know, they're sending me curriculum. So, you know, I have, this is not simply a rarefied independent school problem. This is happening at, you know, school boards and districts all over the country. A lot of it spurred by the, you know, the George Floyd killing and the reaction to it. I believe it was taken as an opportunity to, you know, redress that with misguided.
Yeah, an opportunity for what? It's like I'm trying to figure out, I keep trying to figure out, because I've been concerned about this for a long time. And I still can't get to the bottom of it. It's like, I don't understand exactly. I know there's a resentment element to it, but I can't understand exactly what's driving this and why it's, despite the fact that it's clearly the view of a very small minority of people, perhaps 5%. That's what the surveys seem to indicate. Mm-hmm. I cannot understand why it's making the headway that it's making at the rate that it's making and what it's really aiming at. What do you think about that? Like, what's your sense? Because obviously it's bothering you.
Yeah, I think I have a sense why, and maybe it's a theory. It's not just my theory, but I've seen it in other places or hinted at in other places. I think when you sort of, you know, over the past few decades, you have a gradual sort of leaching from the soil of society of sort of a moral sense, a moral tradition, moral grounding in, you know, long religious traditions. Essentially, when they depart from the public sphere, it leaves a kind of vacuum. And, you know, wokeness is a way to sort of paint by numbers moral righteousness, and it gives people the sense that they're good people. I think people have an almost, you know, I don't know whether it's evolutionarily based, but they have a need to have a moral character and sense of themselves. And if something comes along which is going to offer that and give you that thing, well, then there's a tremendous hunger for it. So people will adopt it quickly. And so you can have, a very small percentage of the population that's pushing it can have a real powerful outsized influence.
Do you have a traditional religious belief of any sort? And are you a practicing religious person?
I am, it's a really good question. I was raised Catholic, and I have lapsed. I have a joke that I use sometimes, I'm so lapsed, I'm prolapsed. But basically, I was a functioning agnostic, then atheist. But I don't feel like I really need a lot of God, but I do need to have something, which is like a conscience. Like, I guess I believe in a conscience. I believe in some little mirror of the divine, which sort of is in me. It's not like above me or around me, but it is within me. And so it's sort of like a reflective thing that I can, and it's sort of reactivated, I guess, as part of this whole experience. So I can take in the world and the world of reality, but I can reflect it against something which is not of this world. I don't know how else to describe it. And then
that's pretty good.
What comes back?
I'm satisfied with that answer.
Like what comes back is something that I should attend to. It's something that it is something important, and that is the, and now that I feel like I have that or an awareness of that, it's just like, okay, like I've got.
Thank God.
It's been there,
so
exactly. Thank God. I want to say thank God, but I don't know. I don't know that there's a God with a capital G. I just know that there's something which is not of this world, but is in this world, and it's not out there.
So what do you think? Okay, so what about when I read your? Oh, I have two questions. The first question is one of the questions is why did you agree to talk to me? And the second question is what do you have to say to teachers who are wrestling with their conscience in relationship to this issue? So let's start with that one.
Start with the second one.
No, yeah, with the teachers. What do you have to say? I mean, you already said you're not interested in judging people for their decisions, but
no,
you've been through this. You've thought about
Yeah.
it. Like, what's your conclusion and your hope, or if it's not a recommendation, maybe it's a hope.
I would just say, stand up for the truth in whatever way you can. If you have that same reflective process within yourself, or if what I'm saying makes sense to you in terms of your sense of right and wrong, if you feel that what you're being asked to teach or what your students are going through is wrong, then weigh that, like do it smartly, but really take it seriously and
why? Why?
Because it's crucial. It's what will save us. If you don't stand up. Crucial. That's a hell of a word to use in that context. Yeah, right. Yeah, the root of that. Yeah. You're being asked, you're being called to do something. And, it doesn't mean that you have to run around and proclaim, and save the world. It just means you have to do something in a way that is constructive and well thought out and will help the immediate circumstances in which you find yourself and help to, set an example.
And if you don't?
And if you don't, well, then you're leaving it up to the next guy. Maybe the next guy isn't up to it. And maybe the next guy isn't up to it. And maybe the next guy isn't up to it. And then what happens then? Then you may not get it. You may not get a chance. You may not get a chance.
If all you can teach is the words on the appropriate list, you could just be replaced by the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that's so wonderful about teaching is that you get to make contact with someone else with you. And so if that's being whittled away in favor of the approved list, then there isn't a hell of a lot of room for you. And It's kind of hard for me to see how you could derive any source of meaningful engagement from your job if you've been reduced to a set of moralistic platitudes, especially when extreme punishment accompanies deviation from them. So that's the thing I always noticed when I was a clinical psychologist. I always brought, because I don't practice now for a variety of reasons, there's a price to speaking, but there's a price to remaining silent when you have something to say. So you get to pick your price.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Father Mike Schmitz, and you're listening to the Bible in a Year podcast, where we encounter God's voice and live life through the lens of Scripture. The Bible in a Year podcast is brought to you by Ascension. Using the Great Adventure Bible timeline, we'll read all the way from Genesis to Revelation, discovering how the story of salvation unfolds and how we fit into that story today. This is day 17. Let's keep on going. And day 17, we'll be reading Genesis chapter 33 and 34, Job chapter 23 and 24, and Proverbs chapter 3 verses 13 through 18. As always, I am reading from the Revised Standard Version Catholic edition of the Bible. I'm using the Great Adventure Bible you can get from Ascension. Speaking of Ascension, if you want to download your own Catholic Bible in a Year reading plan, the reading plan that we're following this entire year, you can visit ascensionpress.com/Bible in a Year. Again, that's ascensionpress.com/Bible in a Year. You can subscribe in your podcast app. You also can sign up for our email list by texting the word Catholic Bible to 33777. That's all one word, all together, all caps or no caps, doesn't matter. Catholic Bible to 33777. Again, as I said, today we are reading from Genesis chapter 33 and chapter 34. As we heard yesterday, Jacob wrestled with the angel all night, and his name was changed. His name was changed from Jacob to Israel, which marked something unique, and it marks something we have never seen yet in the Bible. In this whole story of salvation, chapter 33 reveals something we have not yet seen. We've seen plenty of brokenness. We've never seen reconciliation. So here we start with Genesis chapter 33 and 34. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming, about 400 men with him. And so he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the two maids, and he put the maids with the children in the front, then Leah with her children, and Rachel and Joseph last of all. He himself went on before them, bowing himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And when Esau raised his eyes and saw the women and children, he said, "Who are these with you?" Jacob said, "The children whom God has graciously given your servant." Then the maids drew near, they and their children, and bowed down. Leah likewise and her children drew near and bowed down. And last, Joseph and Rachel drew near, and they bowed down. Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company which I met?" Jacob answered, "To find favor in the sight of my Lord." But Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." Jacob said, "No, I beg you. If I have found favor in your sight, then accept my present from my hand, for truly to see your face is like seeing the face of God. With such favor have you received me. Accept, I beg you, my gift that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough." Thus he urged him, and he took it. Then Esau said, "Let us journey on our way, and I will go before you." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are frail, and that the flocks and herds giving suck are a care to me. And if they are overdriven for one day, all the flocks will die. Let my Lord pass on before his servant, and I will lead on slowly, according to the pace of the cattle which are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir." So Esau said, "Let me leave with you some of the men who are with me." But he said, "What need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. But Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built himself a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, on his way from Padan Aram. And he camped before the city. And from the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, he bought for 100 pieces of money the piece of land on which he had pitched his tent. Then he erected an altar, and called it El Elohe Israel. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to visit the women of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, he seized her and lay with her and humbled her. And his soul was drawn to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the maiden and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this maiden for my wife." Now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah, but his sons were with his cattle in the field, so Jacob held his peace until they came. And Hamor the father of Shechem went out to Jacob to speak with him. The sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard of it, and the men were indignant and very angry, because he had wrought folly in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, for such a thing ought not to be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. I beg you, give her to him in marriage. Make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. You shall dwell with us, and the land shall be open to you. Dwell and trade in it, and get property in it." Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me I will give. Ask of me ever so much as marriage present and gift, and I will give according as you say to me. Only give me the maiden to be my wife." The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and his father Hamor deceitfully, because he had defiled their sister Dinah. They said to them, "We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. Only on this condition will we consent to you, that you will become as we are, and every male of you will be circumcised. Then we will give you our daughters, and we will take your daughters to ourselves, and we will dwell with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and we will be gone." Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem, and the young man did not delay to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter. Now he was the most honored of all his family, so Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, "These men are friendly with us. Let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters in marriage, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men agree to dwell with us, to become one people, that every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. Will not their cattle, their property, and all their beasts be ours? Only let us agree with them, and they will dwell with us." And all who went out of the gate of his city hearkened to Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. On the third day, when they were sore, two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and came upon the city unawares, and killed all the males. They slew Hamor and his son Shechem with the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went away. And the sons of Jacob came upon the land, and plundered the city, because their sister had been defiled. They took their flocks and their herds, their donkeys, and whatever was in the city and in the field, all their wealth, all the little ones, their wives, all that was in the houses, they captured and made their prey. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me odious to the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. My numbers are few, and if they gather themselves against me and attack me, I shall be destroyed, both I and my household." But they said, "Should he treat our sister as a harlot?" Job chapter 23 and 24. Job replies.
And when you just remember that, so many entrepreneurs get caught up in stuff. They get caught up in things and stuff and systems, and they forget you're selling an emotion, you're selling an experience, you're selling a feeling. Tell us about that.
I completely believe that. So when Jen and I started this pop-up shop where we bought a bunch of dresses in our own sizes, and in case it didn't work out, we're like, we'll have a great wardrobe, right? Great wardrobe. So we set up shop to rent dresses, and we thought we would learn a lot about what designers they would run, what price they would pay, etc. But actually, we learned none of that. The biggest thing we learned is from the first customer who pulled out this most sparkly sequin gold dress. She put it on, twirled around in the mirror, and said, "I look hot." And she was completely transformed. Like, who here has had that feeling in their life? Yes? Yes, amazing. And
not Yuri and I. Yuri, does that t-shirt make you feel hot?
I think there's emotion connected to this t-shirt. There's a feeling, there's a mantra. But I think there's this real power, and I'd say it's for women in particular, and I know Jen and I related to it, for clothing to be transformative, for it to not just be about, how much you paid for something. And this is why often women do have hundreds and even thousands of items in their closet, and men might think we're crazy, but it's because it's actually emotional transformative. It's like your armor when you're a woman. put on a great outfit, you do your hair and makeup, and you feel like you can take on the world. And we saw that in that initial consumer. We had our minds open enough to be able to see that. We didn't have a business plan that we had worked on for months and months and months. We came there open-minded and looking to learn. And we built our entire business off that emotional connection that women have with fashion.
Yeah, and to be clear, for those of you who don't know the numbers, did an amazing job. You've got every award under the sun, the top 30 under 30, Forbes list, top 40 under 40, top entrepreneur of the year, biggest disruptor, I mean, award after award. You obviously recently stepped out of Rent the Runway, and there is some significant value. The company's valued at $600 million, and you've got a nice piece of that.
Yeah.
More, when you left,
Yeah.
you've still got a nice piece. There were some cool rewards there, and now you're doing something new. Tell us about what you're doing new and what drew you to that.
Yeah, well, I've always been a serial entrepreneur at heart. So I have aspirations like Yuri that one day I will have, a whole stable of startups because I have ideas all the time. And I had honest conversations with my co-founder that at some point I would go back to the trenches because I missed that startup stages. And it was great at Rent the Runway to be able to innovate on the business model and to launch subscription because that was entrepreneurship, right? We were disrupting ourselves as a startup. But once we launched that and still had a bunch of room to grow, I was ready for the next adventure. And so now I launched a business that's called Jet Black, and it's personal shopping over text message. You can text whatever you want, and we will give you either a recommendation for the best product fit for you, or we'll follow up with a question to refine all the products to the best options for you. And so it's really just simplifying shopping. It's saying, we don't have a lot of time in our life. It could be that you remember you need paper towels and you just need to text that request to someone and get it off your plate. It could be that you need a recommendation for a stroller that you're shopping for, and you need that kind of list of 30,000 results that you otherwise would have gotten winnowed down to 3 or fewer. But we're trying to save busy families time and enhance the product selections, and even I'd say bring delight back into shopping. Like I think shopping has become a chore. Mm-hmm. It is stripped of this kind of emotional and excitement and kind of the idea that you can find something better, you can enjoy your shopping experience. I hope we can do that.
It's kind of cool, exciting. I know that when I just spoke to my wife about it, have a think about this. Think about the idea of, for $50 a month, having somebody take care of all your stuff. Who likes that? Please say yes. And it's not a shopping theme because that's the part. I think the other part that's more important is that the emotional freedom, the mental space that then creates in all of our lives, men and women, fathers and mothers, entrepreneurs and so forth, to go, gosh, if I could just dump all the shit that's in my brain and go, get this, do this, make this happen, get some birthday presents, bring me some flowers for my wife, buy that, and then have it done. What can you do with that spare emotional space and energy and so forth? That's pretty exciting.
The mental presence that it can give you. So because we have everything at our fingertips, our phones are with us every second, you're never really freed from kind of your to-do list. You carry it around every moment. Yep. And we are trained as consumers and shoppers now that you can get everything last minute, which means that no longer do we kind of like segregate our shopping behaviors to one day or one afternoon a week. Instead, it's constant. Yeah. And it takes away from, I'll be spending time with my kids and if we're out of paper towels, I need to put that on a list or I need to remember that somewhere. Or I'm in the middle of a meeting and I need to get a birthday gift for some kid's birthday that weekend and it pops in my head. It's like, how can we take that off of someone's plate and just let you really enjoy and be present in the moment?
It's kind of cool. It's exciting. It's exciting. Give her a hand. It's exciting. One of the things that you've got a lot of great kudos for is that when you built Rent the Runway, had a very diverse, obviously, team. I was not getting a job at your company. It's women and minorities and so on. But I love hearing an interview where you said that you never really focused on that. What you focused on was solving the problem. And because it was mainly a women's problem, that's who you're mainly bringing on board. So I kind of love that. It's kind of cool. When you think about what you're doing now with Jet Black, when you're looking for team, CEOs, and building it out, that's what you said you've already started building. How do you go look for team? What are you looking for? And what's the process? Because how many of you want to bring great people into your business? Who wants to be able to do that? Raise your hands. That's your skill set. How do you do that? What do you do? Where do you start?
So I think, a couple of things that are critical that I hire for. One is flexibility, because I typically say to someone who's joining a startup, the only thing I can promise you is that your job today will be different than your job 6 months from now. And that is not for everyone, right? But that has been the case, I think, in both the startups that I've run so far, and not just in the first year, but continually. Like, jobs and needs change. And I think to have people who are open-minded and adaptable in that way is really powerful. It also says that they are putting the needs of the company before the needs of themselves and a personal career ladder and trajectory and kind of this this thought that there's only one path and there's only one way. And that's real. It can be really crippling at a startup if you have people who are too focused on the specific career ladder and stuck in that versus what does the company need to get done. Another thing I really look for is people who are okay with failure, people who are just not afraid to fail. And many of you who are entrepreneurs, you hear that, or you hear that a lot. It's hard to suss out, but it's really critical, people who will take big leaps. And then the third is positivity. This is a really positive room, and I think when you have positivity, you can take on the world, you can do anything. Often the way I ask to determine if someone's a positive person is I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how lucky do you see yourself? And if people say a 9 or a 10, that means they have a positive outlook on life and their experiences. This idea that there's either the right choice or there's no choice, that's a positive lens. That's a positive outlook on how you want to live proactively and go forward with your life. And you need that every day because there's a lot of low moments in a startup. And you need to be able to kind of pivot and take that no and instead turn it into a how, or what do I need to reorient in terms of how I'm pitching and how I'm interacting day to day.
And when do you go, Jenny? Do you go to the people you know from previous relationships? Do you go get a HR consultant? Where do you physically go to search for those people?
The best is if it's people that you know, people that you've worked with and are known quantities that you've worked with and seen in action before, or that you've been in a meeting with from another company, but you've met and you've just been really impressed and you kept that relationship going.
So if only there was an environment where you could meet thousands of people and create relationships and get to know them all. I wonder where we could find that. Would that be useful, my friends? Yes or no? I mean, it's so critical. Half the reason you come here is for what happens on stage, but for what happens in your team and your companies and so forth. I'm telling you, if you look to the Platts and the Lions, every single one of us, me included, is doing...
Though still illustrative, was the non-debate a week ago Friday with Steve Tassi in California. And this morning I was directed to comments that he made. Now again, I'll admit, I'm really tired. Okay, Mr. Rule, where do you live? Where do you live? I do a lot of overseas travel. Tell me where you live, and who knows? Maybe something can be worked out. I go to London all the time. I'm going to be in Australia, New Zealand. Where do you live? Tell me. Evidently, not in the United States, according to what he says. Where do you live? I was directed... by the way, I do not have the videotape of the debate. Non-debate. I don't have it. Don't have access to it. I can't post it. Please stop asking me when it's going to be posted because it's not under my control. Okay?
Just a word of note, Steve, before the debate happened, had mentioned that the videographer would need at least 2 weeks to process it. So people need to settle down.
Just relax, yeah.
Chill.
I think they've seen some of the stuff that's been put out there from cell phones and stuff like that, and it's like, we got to watch this. No, you don't. You're not going to be missing anything. You're really not. I mean, we may note it, I may blog it, but we're not even going to link to it as one of my debates. There's no reason to. There just isn't. It was that bad. So, I've wondered, what would Pastor Tassi say about the encounter afterwards? And so evidently he put up some comments here. I haven't had a chance to listen to all of it. But I'm accused of all sorts of things in this video. One of the sections was I was gyrating wildly and what was the other term? During his opening statement. Actually, what I was doing was going... I did shake my head. But the idea that I was gyrating, I mean, that's why I queued this up, and I'm going to just have to play it over and over. I don't know how to reason with someone who only hears what they want to hear and twists everything that they hear. But I did want to play a couple sections here really quickly and comment on while we find out from Mr. Rule where he lives. Maybe he lives someplace in dial-up with only dial-up internet. That's why it's taking so long to get responses. Though it'd be pretty hard for him to be watching video. So you have the video? Okay, here we go.
Does it to everyone. I still think it's a tactic to do before the debate.
Okay, he continues to complain about the fact that 4 or 5 years ago, he posts a video attacking me. I did not know about the video until, I think, the day before. And I responded to it for the simple reason, let's put this stuff aside. Your statements about me, I should start a ministry going to parents of murdered girls who got raped to tell them that God was glorified in this. It was an absurd video. It was filled with absurd misrepresentation, straw men. And I responded to it to get it out of the way so we could debate Romans 9. That's why I did it. You chose to change the topic of the debate, show disrespect to all the people in the audience and to me, to respond to that. That's the fact. These things are posted. Anybody with integrity can go look. That's the fact. He's still very upset about that.
He has rules. He told me I broke the rules because what I did when I started the debate is I addressed the video from the day before.
Now, don't we all know what the rules are? There was an agreed to topic, Romans chapter 9. You stick to the topic. Is that really that difficult? Well, for a non-cessationist, evidently it is. I'm very glad that Michael doesn't do this. Michael Brown doesn't do this. But consistently, if you're a non-cessationist and God tells you to break the rules, were you going to comment?
I was going to say, I had a conversation with Lane regarding this issue back in May when the whole thing was starting to line up for May. And Lane assured me that he had talked to Steve about this issue and that Steve told him that he had been watching my series on the original Romans 9 debate and learned things and knew what he needed to do and understood how debate works because I went through all the step-by-step of the rules and why the rules matter. Right. So this ignorance is silly.
No. Yeah, there wasn't any ignorance.
That wasn't in the rules or that wasn't in the plans. So, but when I had watched the video, within 10 minutes of watching that video, I had jotted down notes and response, about 10 pages worth of notes that could be answered back to the things he was saying about me. And God put it on my heart, I believe, to start the debate that way. Rules.
What? I'm sorry.
No rules. God put that on my heart.
Rules or no rules? God told me to do it. God told me to break the rules. God told me to disrespect the audience. God told me to respond to the comments that were made. You know, why, Gail, why did you call it the NASV? Well, because that's what God calls it. You know, that is the trump card, isn't it? That term trump card has now come to mean something differently than it used to as well. But that's trump card. I defend what I did in breaking the rules and disrespecting the audience and totally changing the topic of debate and everything because God told me to. Divine revelation gives us the Immaculate Conception, the bodily assumption, and Steve Tassie's wandering, meandering, yeah, I attacked you and said all these silly things, but now I'm angry that you responded. Opening statement is supposed to be on Romans 9. There you go. You know, the Lord told me to.
To deal with that argument, he was poisoning the well. It's as if to say, before anybody even gets here, I'm going to make sure everybody knows he doesn't know what he's talking about and all these things.
So he can post videos and leave them up there for 4-5 years. That's not poisoning the well. If I respond,